In all sports, there must be rules. Without rules, it would be a free-for-all. Some rules are black and white, such as the out-of-bounds rule found in many sports across the world. Others have a gray area, and to an extent are up to interpretation. Motorsports has long moved past the days of just taking a street-legal sedan and racing on the beach. After a century of automobile racing, there are many areas to officiate. Every sanctioning body is going to make mistakes or miss calls, but in all my years of watching, no motorsport has had as many officiating blunders as NASCAR. NASCAR's history of inconsistent officiating goes back farther than just this decade, but in the past few years, it has gotten worse and worse. Let's begin with the start of the current season. The off-season is over, and it is time for the Daytona 500, stock car racing's biggest event. After being postponed nearly 24 hours, the 2024 Daytona 500 is underway. This race was already controversial due to the strange fuel-saving technique. Normally, the driver in the lead will be full throttle, otherwise they will get run over. But with a Generation 7 car, the frontrunners can have partial throttle and still maintain the lead. The main pack had slowed down so much that the cars with no drafting help were able to run faster lap times. But that is only one of the controversies this race is known for. Coming to the white flag, Ross Chastain zigs, while Austin Cindric zags, and the two spin into the infield. NASCAR has shown that they're willing to throw the caution as soon as they see even a hint of a wreck, but they decide to wait. Alex Bowman gets a run on leader William Byron. He's side by side, about to take the lead, and the caution comes out. This left a bad taste in many fans' mouths for multiple reasons. One, they hesitated throwing the caution for an incident that would often be a guaranteed yellow. And two, wrecks on the last lap are common at superspeedways, and aren't usually yellows unless they happen in front of a group of cars. Little did we know, it was only the start of an atrocious season for officiating. The week after, Daytona was Atlanta, which had become a drafting-style track 2 years prior. On lap 53, Denny Hamlin spins out. While he is still sliding through the grass, the caution comes out, before he even comes to a stop. This isn't anything out of the ordinary, as NASCAR is known for throwing a caution at even the smallest of incidents. When Hamlin did come to a stop, he was out of the racing surface, and eventually got rolling again. Later in the race, during green flag pit stops, Michael McDowell and William Byron get together, and come to a stop in front of the pit road entrance. Despite cars still at speed around them, the yellow flag was not displayed, likely to prevent cars that had pitted from being trapped a lap down. Even with two cars parked in a dangerous area, NASCAR still elected to not throw the yellow. Fast forward to the 7th race of the season at Richmond Raceway. The racing at Richmond has been downright awful since the introduction of the Gen 7 car, though there is one factor that has made the racing tolerable: tire strategy. The tires wear so much at Richmond that making an extra pit stop can actually gain teams more time. Because of this, there were two strategies being played by teams. Kyle Larson was the first car on the one-stop strategy, pitting around halfway through the stage. Martin Truex Jr., however, was the leader of the two-stop strategy, planning to split the stage into thirds. It was shaping up to be an interesting stage end, where, if everything stayed the same, it would be a showdown between the two frontrunners on different tire strategies. But with 61 laps to go on the stage, the caution comes out. Knowing how NASCAR avoided throwing a caution at Atlanta so they didn't interfere with pit cycles, this had to be a major incident, right?
Way up out of the groove, you seem heading north. Man, it's almost like a brake issue or maybe a right front down, Kevin?
Yeah, the car definitely went straight.
Not a right front.
Oh, it's definitely not down.
It in fact was not a major incident, but a tap to the wall. Not out of the ordinary for a short track. Truex retook the lead on the restart and got the stage win, which set himself up well for the rest of the race. With less than 2 laps to go, a caution comes out, with the top 3 cars being Truex, Logano, and Hamlin. The leaders come into the pits for tires, and Denny Hamlin, with the aid of his crew, gets out of the pits as the leader, and henceforth, the control car for the restart. The way NASCAR restart rules work is that the leader can mash the gas pedal anytime they want within the restart zone. Once they do, the car to their side can start going as well. If the leader goes after the restart zone, they will lose their advantage. But if they start accelerating before the restart zone, the leader will be black flagged for jumping the restart, according to the rules. At first we missed the restart because the camera was focused on the back of the pack for some reason, but Hamlin goes on to win the race. Once the dust settles, we get a replay of the restart. Keep in mind, Hamlin is the turquoise number 11 car on the inside.
All right, one more look here. You have to get to the white line before you fire off for it to be a legal restart.
Well, you see that's the start of the restart zone right there.
Definitely rolled. Definitely rolled before the line.
Well, I tell you what he did. He won.
Yeah.
In all of my years of watching racing, this is one of the most blatant restart violations I've ever seen, and for him to not get a penalty is absurd. Even Hamlin himself admitted that he jumped the start. Nevertheless, NASCAR justified it by saying he won the race off of pit road, so he deserved to be in control of the restart, which still doesn't explain why he was allowed to jump it. While there were controversies for the next few weeks, none of them were regarding officiating. Dare I say the sport even had some momentum. The Cup Series had just had their closest finish ever, a fan favorite broke a 3-year-long winless streak, and the league's best driver was racing in IndyCar's Indianapolis 500. But that all came crashing to a halt at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the form of rain. The Charlotte 600 is one of NASCAR's most prestigious events, due to it being the longest race on the calendar. Since the introduction of the Gen 7 car, fans love to have the track raced, with the 2022 edition being named in the top 75 greatest NASCAR races. On lap 245 out of 400, the yellow was thrown due to rain in the area. The cars were pulled down pit road. After waiting it out for over an hour, NASCAR sent their track drying vehicles out to dry the track at around 10:45. At this point, it was obvious we would be racing well into the morning, but NASCAR had waited long enough where they had to commit. Except they didn't. The race was called at 11:30 p.m. due to inclement weather, humidity, and a likelihood of having to restart the race after 1 a.m. All these factors were known when the caution was initially called hours ago, so why wait until now? We never got an answer. The issue wasn't the fact that the race finished 150 laps short, but rather that it took so long for NASCAR to make a decision when it seemed they were committed. 2 Crown Jewel races had been completed in 2024, both with lackluster endings. A few more weeks go by as NASCAR enters the second half of the season. There had been some questionable calls in the meantime, but nothing too outrageous. The stop this week for the series is the Nashville Superspeedway. After a late race yellow, the field is stacked up for overtime. Kyle Busch has worked his way up through the field after having an abysmal first half of the race. He restarts second on the outside, but entering turn 1, Ross Chastain is spun out in front of him, bringing out the yellow. Naturally, Busch slows to avoid the incident. The rules state that a car needs to maintain caution speed in order to retain their position, so Busch should lose spots to the cars that passed him, right?
Real quick, Kyle Busch got his spot back. NASCAR moved him all the way from the back, all the way up here to the second row.
That's ridiculous.
Not sure how that happened.
We have Kyle Busch lined up in 4th. We were all shocked coming to 1 to go that he was lined up in 4th. Let's watch this last replay. So he's an innocent victim, had nothing to do with the wreck, but that doesn't matter. Like, he is out of the screen. All these guys are going by, and there he is. All these cars are going by him. He's lost his track position. He could not keep pace. Right? Here he is in 4th.
So the rule is that you have to keep pace with the field as the field takes the yellow and slows down. So as the 1 comes up, the 8 gets on the brakes, not to hit him, to your point, not his fault. But I see how many cars you want to go through. I see the 23 go by. I see a whole bunch.
It's just crazy that they lined him up in 4th. It's not right.
I would love to see Kyle Busch win for the 20th year, but I can't see any way that Kyle Busch should be 4th in this situation. And he was in the accident, not of his doing, or avoiding the accident, but you can't stop on the racetrack. Cars that are on the left side going by at speed have to be scored. What happens is, Rick, is if you're in the accident or you can't maintain pace, you get blended back into the field, kind of where you either return from the wreck. There's no chance in my mind that the 8 maintained the pace or the average pace of the field.
Despite nearly coming to a standstill, Busch was allowed to keep his position, though it didn't benefit him as he wrecked 2 restarts later. And now we come to the reason this video was made, the Brickyard 400. It is the first time in 4 years that the Cup Series returns to the 2.5 mile oval layout, and anticipation is through the roof. The racing itself is mid at best, but strategy is a huge factor. After a late race caution, some teams are cutting it close on fuel. Exiting the second turn with 2 laps to go, Ryan Preece's number 41 car sputters and is run over from behind. A similar incident occurred at Pocono last year, where Preece was spun onto the apron and stalled with 2 laps to go. It was obvious he wasn't going to get going again, but NASCAR waited until the leader got the white flag and then called the caution on the backstretch, gifting the win to Denny Hamlin instead of setting the field up for another overtime. But here at Indianapolis, NASCAR had a chance to learn from their mistakes and give an important race the ending it deserves. Despite the pressure, Kyle Larson in the lead takes the white flag to signify 1 lap to go, and the caution is called as they reach the middle of the first short chute, ending the race 2 miles early. Another finish to a crown jewel race ruined. So why is officiating like this? Theories have been made all over social media, ranging from purposeful manipulation to just plain apathy or incompetence. Whatever the case, every instance reduces the legitimacy of the sport. It begs the question, what should NASCAR do moving forward? Well, I think that the best and least difficult request is consistency. If cars aren't allowed to accelerate before the restart zone, don't allow it in some occasions. If you don't want cars dodging through wrecks at speed in order to maintain their position, change the rule. Yes, a lot of the rules are ridiculous, but they need to be enforced consistently. Then we can worry about critiquing them. Officials in any sport are never going to be 100% accurate, and there's nothing wrong with that. But managing to make so many race-altering mistakes is inexcusable. As fans, we are going to complain, but that's only because we care. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.